All right. Let's move on to talk about our main topic. The millennial midlife crisis and the millennials hitting their achievement markers later in life.
I think millennial midlife crisis is...
Yes. All right. Yeah. I'm having one. I feel like I'm definitely having one.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm sure the whole, world has noticed is that the next set of adults out there right now are millennials. We're in the roles to become leaders. We're like, AOC is another millennial. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, like the oldest among us are 40. Yeah.
In terms of changing the face of the world is how humans have normally kind of gone through their rites of passage in life. Right now, the millennials have completely turned it upside down.
Yeah.
What I wanted to kind of talk about is how do we compare those who were in their age in the generations that came before us?
Like we use the word adulting, right? Like it's almost
I hate
when
that
you...
word.
I was reading about it in an article, and there's something this author said that, it's almost sounds like you're cosplaying, like you're not actually that person, but you're pretending to be. I think sometimes it feels a little unfair because you're like, yeah, I know it does feel like I'm pretending to be, but I don't know any other way. How else should we?
I think it's because our parents have kind of set this, or the boomer generation kind of set this thing where these markers that they had, right, in terms of like what being an adult is. It's like, let's say it from the point of view of like a Desi household, right? As a girl, you get your education done while you're in college. As soon as you graduate, somehow you're married, right? Is that kind of what it will be? And then when you're married, you are getting a home with your partner. And once the home is done, you are having children.
Yes.
And that's kind of like when you hit around 40, 50, where the traditional midlife crisis would occur, right?
Yeah.
Because that's when our parents would look back, or the father would like buy a convertible, and the mom would like suddenly start going to a yoga class with a hot yoga instructor. That's your midlife crisis would happen because you're looking back at your life and you did all these things like mechanically, like you said about your mom, right? She just powered through it. She didn't try anything else. That's what she had to do.
Yeah.
And so you have the midlife crisis because you're looking back and you're like, well, what have I done? I must do new things now and like experience life. But we don't have these markers.
We don't have these markers. And, sometimes like then I started thinking, when you talk about midlife crisis, I've had what you call a quarter life crisis. I distinctly remember in my early, around 25, 26, was when I had this sort of reevaluation of who am I? Am I been doing things because it's expected of me or because I want to do this? A real evaluation of where you are. And also, later on, much later, I learned that your prefrontal cortex is formed around that age. So it's maybe that kicking in.
Can we explain that to our listeners? So this is like the part of your brain that basically kind of wakes up after your mid-20s. And it's where suddenly you see things differently, more maturely. Everything, you look back at your 20s and you're like, whoa, like that was a lot of emotion. We kind of get more sobered down maybe, right? The brain kind of calms down a bit.
Yeah, you start evaluating your choices. Maybe sometimes you could quit a job like me and just switch countries or decide to take up a major.
I'm going through my midlife crisis now. So no, you're right. You dig this drastic step.
Yeah, but then should we call it a midlife crisis or an identity crisis?
Or just a crisis. Let's just call it a crisis.
Or a crisis.
I feel like, but that's the whole conversation we're talking about. I feel like millennials, we've been in crisis mode.
Exactly.
And it hasn't stopped. And it hasn't stopped because of so many factors. And then I feel like we get blamed unfairly for when we do things differently. Like, why aren't you getting married on time? How come these millennials aren't having children? What's going to happen? And it's like, well, how can we? There's 2 recessions we've lived through now. A once in a lifetime epidemic Like, come on, and we're so young. The recession has screwed up the capitalist landscape for us in terms of salary wise. We're not getting paid nearly enough as our parents were.
You can't afford a
In
house.
Canada alone, I'm selling my house because I can't afford it anymore. Literally, I can't. Because everyone's like, "Are you sure you want to sell?" And I'm like, "Girl, I can't afford this house." It's like the basic needs of just living have become impossible. So I feel like what's happened is, because life is sucking so much, our millennial generation is just going to live in the moment. At least I think that's kind of what it's leaning to. Our parents
YOLO.
planned for the future. We cannot plan for the future. So we just have to live in the
We're
moment.
so YOLO.
It's YOLO. It's YOLO full on, man. It's true. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, honestly.
Only vibes. Spend on skincare, avocado toast.
It's true. Like, my parents get so mad, because they'll be like, "You should be saving." And I'm like, oh, I've been miserable since 2014. So I think the moral of the story, in terms of just whether we are having a delayed adulthood and what adulting is and whether we're doing it right or not, can we officially just accept that maybe the idea of adulthood is dead?
I think we have way more autonomy when it comes to our parents. And I think as a generation, we are really looking at things and assessing them, and not just working on some programming that has been inbuilt into our model or something. We really asking the questions of why rather than what.
I just want to enjoy life. That's it. I think that's the moral of the story, is that despite all the stress that we have decided that we are going to enjoy life.
Yes.
So the New York Times actually even reports that millennials and Gen Zers aren't saving for the future, which is true. Instead, they're spending it on the now.
Yeah.
And, they say if you have an apocalyptic vision of the future, why would you save for it? So in addition to what you see in the future, do you have any milestones that you're reaching or thinking of? For me, I think a milestone would be to release a book. I really want to release a book with my art. That's a milestone I really want to do.
That is really beautiful. And
that's the only thing I can think of.
For me, I've always wanted to be a mom.
Oh, no, that's amazing. What are you kidding me? That's like, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic milestone.
Basic it sounds, but yeah, I do want to create a human
I
being.
look forward to seeing... Pappu, motherhood is going to look amazing on you. I think it's a wonderful milestone.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Good. I love both our milestones.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and you could make a kid's book, and
Dude, we're going to do it. Life is about the now. Okay, everybody that's listening, all the other millennials and Gen Zers that are listening to us. Do you have anything else you want to say, Pappu? Any last little bits to wrap up with?
I think this is just what I want to send out into the ether for a future me that listens back. This is what I have for you. I hope you
I love
reach
it.
there.
I'm very excited also for the future, only because I know that I'm doing things that are going to give me joy. Because, really, guys, we don't know. We could die from COVID tomorrow. We could lose our home. Anything can happen. So let's just all be there for each other, be empathetic with each other, and understand that life is hard. So be kind and all that happy stuff.